Welcome to the Mindset Reset. Today I'm going to go over the 4 things I do to reset my mind. Recently I felt a little bit cloudy, a little bit angry, frustrated and sad, and I'm not really sure where it's coming from, but I usually sit with it and it hasn't really dissipated. I feel like it's just kind of been building slowly over the last few weeks. That is usually a very good indicator to me that I need to do something to change it. So this is what I call my mindset reset, because during these times, it often comes up when I am angry and I am a bit clouded and I am just really a little bit unsure. And so I find the time to get down to a place that I really love, a place that's beautiful. In Australia, it's a place for me somewhere in the Otway National Park, and I drive down, I put on my runners and I go for a run. More specifically, it's a trail run. It's a trail run through the bush in the wet eucalyptus forest. The soil is damp, the eucalyptus spreads throughout your nose, the trees sway a little bit, and you can hear bird sound. There's a tremendous amount of bird sound within this video that I hope you can hear, and I'm not going to cut it out. I think it's a really valuable thing to have on deck. And really, my mind is in a good place. I just kind of need to tinker with that skill set and remind myself of what it is I'm trying to achieve and where I'm trying to go, and how fortunate I am within this life that I get to live. It's usually a reminder of the privilege that I'm given geographically, education that I was able to obtain, my position in life being a straight white male. I am in a minority being a disabled man, but more on that another time. But I still have enormous privilege. And yes, there are people that are going to be more privileged than I will ever be. But then on this other hand, there are going to be people that are not, that are far less fortunate. And it's a good reminder for me to present to the world with a bit of kindness, joy, and grace, and those moments that I can give that back to people that may be less fortunate than I will ever be. Yes, we are going to have challenges. Yes, we are going to have problems in our life. Life is always a problem. But within saying that, knowing that we come from a place that allows us to really choose our mindset in those things. How do we present to the world? How do we give back? How do we deal with those problems that we may have? Are we choosing a positive or a negative? And it's really important to remember that there are people that are far less fortunate than we are and are going to have far more problems than we will ever have. And so giving back in a way that allows us to reset our mind and remember where we come from and what we are and who we are is a really important part of that. We don't get to just change our lives overnight. That's not how change works. But if we can change our mindset, knowing that we have the privilege of the mindset that we have is a really important step in the foundations. It's important to acknowledge that I also have days that are stinkers, days that suck, days that hurt, and I am human just like everybody else, and you hear that all the time, as do I. It's important to acknowledge that I want to complain less and I want to use the mind that I have up here to function a little bit smoother. And I want to use that mindset reset as a tool that allows me to both be kind to others and kind to myself. There is always going to be a duality between those bad days and those good days. And without those bad days, we don't get to have good days. We need to kind of have both of those things at a time and both of those things functioning in kind of conjunction with one another. Otherwise, we get swept up in what this life is and have a hard time appreciating any of those things. And maybe I need to do that mindset reset a little bit more frequently and remind myself of those things. And maybe there's a quicker and easier functioning way to do that. But in the meantime, this is like a full system reset and a full overarching change in what it is that we can do going forward. I just finished a 6.5 kilometer run and I feel fantastic just based off the premise of doing this thing that is the first step in the mindset reset. There is 4 steps of this mindset reset. The first one is going for a run of some kind. The second one is writing down how you feel afterwards. The third one is getting your bare feet in the soil. And the fourth one that I have for you is picking up a few bits of rubbish in the natural nature part of where we currently are. Today I ran 6.5 kilometers, but for you it could be a kilometer. It could be a walk, it could be a little hike. It doesn't really have to solely be a run, but for me that is what clears my head the most. It's what gets me thinking freely, and it is often the thing, particularly on the back end of the run, where I'm reminded of those things that perhaps I need to be doing and can do a better job at. And the takeaway is often different. Today for me it was thinking about sort of my privilege and thinking about how I conduct myself within the day-to-day. But for another one, it could be a story, it could be a goal that I have. It doesn't solely have to be resetting the mind in that kind of like capacity, but I think what it does is it kind of just clears out all maybe that brain fog, maybe that phone doom scrolling kind of projection that we have, and puts you back in a place that is grounded and secure and feels good for you. The second one, I get a notepad, a journal, a whatever, and I sit down and I write down 3 things that I felt during that run. That can go from anything from it feels good to be moving at a speed. It can go from I feel really privileged to have this life, or I'm really lucky to be in love, or I'm really lucky to have this career, this job, this mindset, whatever that might be. And it doesn't really matter what it is. I think just writing those things down, those core things, feels good for both your soul and where you're heading. The third thing that I will do, and I think is a very valuable little stance, is taking off your shoes and socks and putting your feet in the soil. That rich, deep, dark earth allows you to really connect with the place that you are at and where you currently are. It's not about fixing the body, it's not about fixing everything. It's about getting you grounded in one position and thinking, feeling, and reflecting. That can all come later. I think it's just really about connecting yourself to that present moment and how you feel within that present moment. That is the third step that I will do in this system reset, and often it will be the thing that really brings me back to where I need to be. And the fourth one just depends on where you're at, but for me, if I'm going into a natural national park of any kind, I want to pick up some rubbish. I want to leave it better than how I found it. And today I just sort of picked up 5 to 10 bits of rubbish, and that is the end of that system reset, that mindset reset, where all of a sudden you're giving back. You are trying to leave the world a better place, which is that kindness, that grace, that joyful kind of step that we allow ourselves and get to move into. Look, I'm not going to lie, this is not the easiest thing to take yourself off to do. You kind of need an afternoon, you need an afternoon to yourself. I understand some of you have families, I understand some of you have jobs and commitments and things that don't really allow you to have a whole afternoon to yourself in the middle of the week when there's no people around like I currently do. But I think you can kind of do mini versions of this, whether it's a run in your neighborhood or it's a gym workout, and you can kind of go back and do those 3 steps afterwards. Whether it's just shortening the period of time that you're doing it for, maybe you can do the whole thing in an hour. Maybe you don't have to take as long as I take. Maybe you can do a different altered version of it. I just know for me, spending those couple of hours, particularly that hour in nature and the outdoors, and feeling and loving and being kind to yourself, away from the internet and away from electronics and away from the current world that we're currently in whatever news cycle, doom scroll, whatever this thing is, I think the better off we will be. And lastly, I just want to say thank you if you have watched this far. Thank you if you have consumed any of my videos. I'm still keeping this thing a secret. I haven't told my family or friends. I haven't shared in the way that perhaps I should share it, but this is my third video. I'm learning, I'm trying, we're working towards it, and I just kind of want to see where it ends up going before I share and put it out in the world. So thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for being here. Let me know if you do a mindset reset, or if you have a different version of this, or if you have any other steps you want to add, because I would love to hear them, and I think we can all find value within those little things that we do, whether it be the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the months, or the years, that we can kind of bring ourselves into and give back to be a better version of ourselves. So remember to be kinder than you think you need to be. Walk in your own shoes, and I will see you here next week for another video.